as I said, so Nat, over to you. You can introduce yourself and what you are making.
Hi everyone, I'm Nat. I've been a Thermomix consultant for, I didn't realise this the other day until I thought about it, coming up 2 years. So that's pretty exciting. So I'm obviously part of the Lakes Legends team. I'm based on the Central Coast. I love food. I've dabbled at all my baking. I've done professional baking and health and wellness coaching. So can't rave about the Thermomix enough. And I have a little 2-year-old now. So obviously I got a Thermomix when I had a baby and it was life-saving. So that's a bit about how I got into the Thermomix. But what am I going to be doing tonight for our basic sauteed onions? So I've got the recipe up on Cookie Do. You can just search sauteed onions. You can find it that way. It's also in your basic cookbook. It's in the high heat recipes. So there's a number of ways to find it. And if this is awesome because you can't burn your pan, the Thermomix does all the work for you. So first thing it's doing, it's asking me for 20 grams of oil. I'm just going to pour that straight in. It's going to measure it out for me. I've got my 20 grams of oil in and I just click next. It's going to ask me to add my 200 to 300 grams of onions. I've got red onions tonight. I'm going to pop them in. So the 200 to 300 grams is obviously allowing you to work out how much you want to use. I'm only doing 200 because I have one person who's not overly fussed on onion in my family. I like it though. And I'm going to pop the lid on, pop the splash guard on. So that's going to allow more steam to escape while the high heat mode is on, and that's really important. You want to get enough ventilation so that you can get that nice sauteing, that caramelization, but you don't want it to splash. So hence the splash guard for those that have always wondered what it's for. I'm going to click done and I'm literally just going to turn the button and it's now going to use the high heat mode on the Thermomix. There's so many amazing things that the high heat mode can do, but as you can see right now, it's replacing the function of what you would normally do on a stove top if you were sauteing in a pan or you were basically cooking anything on high heat. The new TM6 definitely allows you to actually do all of that. So some of the other cool things you can do, you can go into the high heat recipe cookbooks on Cookie Do. And that gives you an idea of all the different things that you might use high heat for. There's an awesome recipe on there. There's a gyros recipe. I absolutely love it. It's delicious. If you haven't tried it already, get on and try that one. There's teriyaki with vegetables. There's a whole range of beautiful high heat recipes. The other thing the high heat allows you to do is it allows you to take your sweet cooking to the next level. And it allows you to basically make your toffee style desserts or anything that requires sugar to be cooked at a high heat. Hence, honeycomb. I love this. This is the honeycomb mold. And you can literally make, I made honeycomb the other night for a customer at her cooking delivery experience. So she got a new Thermomix and she had her Thermomix delivered as part of a cooking experience. And one of the things, because she'd already had a previous model, so she didn't want to do some of the basics, she wanted to step it up a bit and she wanted to learn how to use the new sugar stages. So we did honeycomb, and honeycomb is so simple. It's 3 ingredients, you pop it on and 20 minutes later you've got honeycomb. So I can't rave about the high heat enough. Michelle, have I covered everything on high heat that you wanted me to cover?
Yes, I think so.
That's going to cook for 8 more minutes now.
8, did you say?
Yeah.
Or 8?
Yeah.
8.
8.
Okay.
7 and a bit now.
Awesome. Okay. So just let me get Linda on the spotlight now. One thing I forgot in the chat, I am just putting in the recipe links and any of the mix shop items there, so you can save the chat or just copy and paste it in a Word document to find later as well. Over to you, Linda.
Thanks, Nat and Michelle. My name's Linda. I am the team leader for the Pro Mixers, so the team leader for the Hawkesbury, and I've been a consultant / team leader for the last 5 years. Absolutely love my Thermomix. I'm a busy mum of 7, so it helps me out heaps and saves me so much time, money and energy in the kitchen. So I'm going to be starting off by whipping some cream, which is pretty easy to do. With your cream, depending on its expiry, so the closest to expiry is actually going to whip a lot faster. So I don't actually put the time in because it just depends on the fat content, how cold it is, and how soon close to the expiry it is as well. So the first thing we need to do is put our butterfly in. So we always put our butterfly in on the highest blade against the blunt side. Okay, and if you give it a little twist, it will actually lock into place and not come flying off. So we're going to pop that on there. With your butterfly as well, if you're using it, never exceed speed 4. But when I'm doing the cream, I sort of do it at just the speed 3 mark as well. I love that Aldi now has pouring cream, which they never used to have. So I'm going to put in 600 grams of pouring cream, and they're 2 new cartons. So I'm just going to pour them both in there, like so. Just make sure too that your bowl is always cold. So never do your onions and then go to your cream. If you've got that second bowl, that's when it's going to come in handy, but just make sure that you always have a cold bowl to start off with. Make sure your lid's in place, and just basically you can hear the difference with your cream. So when you're starting off, you can do obviously soft peaks, a medium peak, or actually quite a firm peak. So I'm just going to go with what I hear. So I'm just going to basically turn my speed selector to speed 4 and whip some cream. 3.5. I'm playing around with it. We've got that flexibility with the Thermomix, so 3.5 is fine. And we're going to make some cream. You can flavour your cream as well. So if I was making cream for my scones, I'd be adding a little bit of vanilla sugar or some vanilla bean and some icing sugar to it. You can really change it up. I can hear that that's changing its sound a little bit, so I'm just going to check it. We're still not at a soft peak, but you've got full control, and because you're at that speed of 3.5, you can actually open the lid and it's not going to come splashing out either. So I'm just going to stop that and see what we're at this point. Again, the Thermomix, you've got full control over it. So that's quite a soft sort of peak there. So we're going to go a little bit further now. I'm going to take it to a firm peak. Firm peak. And obviously, I know that a lot of us have probably made the mistake before. If you take it that too much further, you're going to end up with butter. So I'm going to have the privilege of showing you how to make butter as well today. Okay, I can hear the sound is changing again. So it's a firmer peak happening now. So I'll show you what we look like at this point. Wait for our safety locking arms to open, and you can see that there. It's beautifully whipped. I'd love to hear if you've made any flavoured creams, anything different to your chantilly cream. Pop them in the chat because we love to learn from each other here. Okay, so what I'll do now is, because that's at quite a firm peak, I'm actually going to go back to my recipe for butter. So I've saved it in my week. And I'm just going to go to butter, and we're going to start cooking. Obviously, my whiskey is already inserted. I've already got my cream there. And it says for a minute, but we'll be able to hear it anyway. So let's just turn that to speed 2.
So Linda, we've got people on that haven't even got their Thermomix delivered. So when you say you can hear it, did you just want to describe what the sound is that they're looking for? Because we can't hear the Thermomix. Okay,
because it blocks out the side. You just will notice a difference in the sound. I don't know how to actually explain the sound that I'm hearing. I'm so accustomed to hearing the Thermomix. So you'll just hear a difference in the sound. That's all I can say. Like from when you start, you'll just start to hear it sort of get thick, and you might not hear as you'll hear less liquid sort of spinning around in your bowl. I don't know. Do you look out for anything in particular, Michelle? Do you have a different sound that you look out for?
Yeah, it's hard to describe the sound, isn't it? But yeah, I think you can hear when it's splitting, when you've got the 2 compartments. I think once it gets thick, and then you can hear it wet. Yeah, sloshy. That's right, Erica. I agree. Less sloshy.
Sorry, I thought you were referring to the whipping cream part. So with the butter, you will actually hear it getting quite wet. You'll hear liquid rolling around in your bowl pretty much. So you will definitely hear it. So I'll show you once I hear it, I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll take it back to speed 4. Sorry, my mistake. And the machine will probably shake a little bit more as well. Okay, we're getting there. I can hear that it's sounding a little bit more different at the moment. And you can start to see the machine maybe just shake a little bit. Okay. Could you see the machine tremble a little bit? So I'll show you what it looks like at this point. So you can see that it's separated. Okay, so we've got our buttermilk there and we've got our solids as well. So what I'm going to do now is strain the buttermilk, which is great for our cakes, and I'm going to be using it a little bit later just to make some buttermilk bread. So don't discard this and throw it down the sink. It's great, and it will actually keep as well in the freezer. So some people just pour the whole lot out. I get lazy and I like to do things the quick and easy way with so many kids. So I just love this spatula, which is available on the Mix shop. It's the FlexiCore spatula. So you can pour that in there and you've got your buttermilk in there. You see that? And then all I do is, because you want to get as much as that buttermilk out of the butter. The more buttermilk you get out, the longer your butter will last as well. Okay, so keep this. You can see it with a flexible spatula. I'll try and do it this way without dropping it all. I just literally just push it out. You can get it in your hands and squish it and squash all the buttermilk out, but it's just as easy to do it this way. You can do it under running cold water if you'd like as well. But what I'm going to do with this is actually do a second rinse as well. So that will keep it fresher for longer in your fridge as well. So that you can just see the more you squeeze, the more that will actually come out. Okay. So I'll do that second rinse. So you can see our buttermilk there. So 600 grams of cream or 600 mils of cream will actually give you approximately 250 grams of buttermilk. So there's a big saving there, especially if you're buying your cream when it's expiring or very close to expiring. They discount it. Sometimes I buy 600 grams for about 39 cents, and you can make your butter with that as well. So I'm going to pop that back on.
The only problem with that, Linda, used to get reduced cream all the time, but everyone's got a Thermomix now, so it's not as reduced anymore.
That's right. You have to be there really quick when they put it out because it does disappear. You see them all on the pages, like promoting them. So I've removed that butterfly whisk already. We're going to go next. We've already strained the buttermilk out. So now I'm going to add 500 grams of chilled water. Make sure it's chilled because you don't want this to become a melted mess. So let's just put in our 500 grams. It's always nerve-wracking when people are watching me weigh things into the Thermomix, especially because we're working backwards. So let's go next again. The butter solids are already in there. I haven't taken them out. We're going to go next. The lid's on, 5 seconds on speed 4. So grab a bowl. So that's the second rinse. So the liquids and solids have now separated again. You can use the same simmering basket here. The only thing with this lot now, you don't keep this because this is pretty much just water. So we're going to take those solids out of there. And again, you can squeeze some more of the liquid out of there. But this water here now is just pretty much dirty water and we're going to discard that as well. I do have a butter bowl that I use to store my butter in. And if you haven't seen them yet, they are available in white and black on the Mix shop. And all you do is pop your butter in there and fill this up with water, and you can actually sit it on your bench. It'll keep it nice and cool. Sit it on your bench so it's actually spreadable as well. So you can flavour your butters as well. I won't put it into the butter bowl yet because I do actually want to flavour this one. I've got some black garlic, so I want to do a black garlic butter. And then I'll just roll it up and either put it in the freezer or keep half plain. You can make some sweet butters as well, like your cinnamon butter to go on your your scrolls, or sweet or savoury. So whatever you like. So if you've been a bit adventurous with your butter flavours, pop them in the chat, because like I said, we love to learn from each other, and we can share our ideas and tips. Okay, so I'm going to put that one aside because I don't need that. The great thing about the Thermomix, so I've made my buttermilk, I've made my butter. I'm going to now make some buttermilk bread. So I don't even need to wash the bowl, which is what I love. So I've already saved the recipe. We're going to go back to my week, and I'm going to do my buttermilk bread. So we're going to start cooking. And we all know, for those that have already got their Thermomix, how easy it is to make doughs in the Thermomix. We're going to start a new recipe. Okay, so it's asking for 180 grams of buttermilk, which I just prepared. So I love that there's no wastage. Our scales, make sure they're on 0. Okay, a little bit over, but that's okay. We're going to go next. We're going to add 200 grams of water. Because I went a little bit over, I might just reduce that water a little bit. So we'll go 180. Is there anyone that...
Oh, sorry.
No, you go, Michelle.
I was going to say that leftover buttermilk Linda's got there, she could either keep it in the fridge for a couple of days or pop it in the freezer. So when she's making scones or another batch of buttermilk bread, she's got that on hand. So you never throw it out, you keep it or freeze it.
Definitely. And if you haven't made the buttermilk scones on cookie dough, you really need to give those a go because they are delicious. Okay, it's asking now for 2 teaspoons of dried yeast. So just pop those in. Try and get away from putting it in the middle, because if you put it in the middle, it sits on the blades and we want it to be in the liquid. We're going to insert the measuring cup. The lid. We're going to go next. We're going to heat this now for 3 minutes. This is where people go wrong when they're making breads and doughs, that things don't work. I love the Thermomix with a precise temperature control. You know that it's going to activate your yeast perfectly each and every time. So yeah, it's a non-fail recipe. So 3 minutes at 37 on stage 1. Do we have any questions?
No questions. Lauren just asked about freezing the buttermilk. She just said, do you do it in ice cubes? I do mine in a Ziploc bag, weigh it and label it. I'm not too sure. How do you do yours, Linda?
I normally just will use it up in something pretty much straight away. But if I do freeze it, I would also do it in Snaplock bags as well. They're our best friends in the kitchen.
Yeah, definitely.
And just another tip I just did want to say as well, with your butter, a lot of people don't like making homemade butter because they say it's too hard, they can't spread it. What you can do is, what I do is after that second rinse, I pop it back in the bowl with about 50 grams or 30 to 50 grams of grapeseed oil and some salt, and that will just make it a lot easier, more of a spreadable butter as well. If you wanted a lighter butter, you could put in a bit more of the buttermilk and you get like a lighter whipped butter as well. So about 50 grams of buttermilk will give you a lighter whipped butter as well. And your butter can be frozen as well. So if you do get that cream on special, or you just want to have a butter making day, make it all up and you can freeze it. I normally buy, I've got little containers and I just freeze them in the containers. When one's finished in the fridge, we pull out another one and it's ready to go.
Great tips, Linda. And does anyone have any recipes or tips or tricks that they can recommend in the chat to use up your buttermilk? We'd love to hear that. And also too, if you're doing, Linda, a herb butter, you could roll that in a log and then just slide.
Yep, I often do that. If you haven't tried
off the garlic or the herb butter when you're having breads or
definitely. And if you haven't tried the Skinny Mix's chicken Kievs, there's a great garlic and herb butter there. So because my bowl's already dirty, I normally just do double or triple the batch and have it in the freezer ready to go. And it just makes it easier next time around when you're preparing it.
Great tip.
Okay, so we're on a minute. It's just heating. So if I go to my preview next, obviously it's going to tell me what the next step is. So it tells us to grease a deep-sided loaf tin. If you haven't seen the one that's available on the Mix Shop, it is fantastic. I've tried different bread tins in the past. It is a commercial grade bread tin. It's nice and heavy. You don't even have to grease it. So this recipe does say to grease it. I never do. It's just got a really nice coating in it, and I don't use any abrasives in it. So it just comes out beautifully each and every time, and it comes with the lid as well. So you can get a nice square loaf. Without the lid, obviously you can get a nice high top loaf as well. Right, so what are we up to? Oops. Okay, 21 seconds. Has everyone used the dough function in their Thermomix? And no one's game to get off mute. Okay, sure have. Yep. Okay, a couple more seconds and we're ready to go. So I'm using baker's flour. Now, baker's flour has a higher protein content, so it's great for breads that use yeast, and that's what gives it its sort of that chewiness that we all love with our breads. So if it does call for baker's flour, I would definitely recommend to use it. I have in the past not had it and substitute it, but you can actually really taste the texture is very, very different. Okay, so I'm not going to grease my tray. 500 grams of baker's flour going in. Okay, a little bit over, but that's okay. A teaspoon of salt's going in. Next, and if you wanted to flavour this buttermilk bread with something else, adding maybe chives, cheese or bacon or anything that you want to flavour it with, you would put it in at this point. So that way when it needs it, it incorporates it together as well. Cheese and olives is a favourite in our home. And now we're just going to mix these ingredients, 6 seconds on speed 6. Always have the trusty thermomat ready when I'm doing dough. I'm going to keep the measuring cup in, and this is now going to knead for 3 minutes. I think it's back over to you, Michelle.
I just asked what's everybody's favourite breads and doughs that they're making. Linda said she loves making the fruit loaves and just normal bread, and Erica said the pull aparts, which are delicious. Thanks for reminding me. I feel like that now. And Lauren said that she loves making the masala bread. And what did you say? The paleo bread loaf, however, not so good for making sandwiches out of. Have you had experience with that?
Myself, not the paleo bread. I use the gluten-free, grain-free bread. Cookies do, and they're fantastic. So if you're eliminating or trying to reduce your carbs, the gluten-free, grain-free bread rolls are perfect, and they come out great toasted as well.
Which one was that? Sorry, Linda. The
gluten and grain-free bread rolls.
Okay, I'll find that and put that up there. And then Mel said that ciabatta is one of her favourites as well.
Yes. I love that one as well.
So gluten and grain-free, did you say? Okay. Beth is a celiac, and what has she said? She's made those gluten-free bread rolls too, and they're really good. And that's coming from a celiac who has tried almost every gluten-free recipe under the sun. So great tip, Beth.
There you go.
And
I've only started making those this year because I've been doing keto. So they're really great if you bake them with your cheese and bacon on top. So you've got a keto cheese and bacon bread roll as well.
12 o'clock Thursday. 12 o'clock Thursday.
And Lauren has said, has anyone made the cinnamon scrolls? Yes, they are very dangerous. If you want to lose weight, Lauren, we're talking about paleo breads. Do not make the cinnamon scrolls because you can't stop at one. I made the Magnolia Kitchen one, then what is it? The macadamia and white chocolate ones the other day, and they were absolutely delicious.
Yeah, I think I got through half a tray and hence starting keto this year.
Oh, you want to gain weight. I can donate some to you, Lauren. So it was gluten and grain-free bread, didn't you? I'll have a look.
Yeah. If you don't find it when I come off, I can find it for you as well.
Oh, okay, thank you. Excellent.
So I've got a few more seconds on here. Having a thermomat makes life easier when you're working with dough. And I've got my new one that's got some dough resting already. So the old ones don't have the guides on it. So if you haven't got one with the guides, I encourage you to have a demo, have a cooking experience, and you can get those as a host reward. Okay, a couple more seconds.
And they're great, aren't they, Linda? No mess.
No mess. And what I love about it too, obviously you can prove in them because of the wire gauze. It keeps that heat in and just makes that proving process a lot faster. Okay, there you go. You can see our beautiful dough. Now this buttermilk bread dough is a little bit stickier. It's my spatula. I start off nice and organised and I lose things. Just grab another one here. So with your dough, I normally just pop it on my thermomat. Just with that little where the blade is, I just give that a little bit of a twist and it will fall out. Because it is stickier, sometimes it does need a little bit of a hand, but you can just see it coming out there. And do we all know the trick what to do if you have a little bit of dough left in your bowl? Okay, I will show you quickly. So you can see the stretch in that. Okay, so there's some still there. What you need to do is just pop your bowl back on your Thermomix. And we'll just go out of that recipe for a second and just take it at speed 10. And all it's going to do is fling all that dough from under the blades on the side of the bowl, so you'll be able to get a bit more out without having any waste. Okay, you can see that it's just flung to the side, and now I can just pull it out.
That's also a great tip if you've made dips and things like that. It just helps flick it all away from the edge. Great tip, Linda. Okay.
So we're going to put this aside to proof for about half an hour or till it's doubled in size. And I don't know about you guys, but I've got a fireplace that's been going for the last 2 days because it's so cold. So I normally pop it near the fireplace, and within half an hour, it's ready to go in its tin, and then proof for another half an hour, and then whack in the oven for 45 minutes at 200 degrees.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Linda. Now over to you, Nat. I would say that you are finished over there. Let's just replace that spotlight.
Yes, I'm finished. So I've pulled the onions out. So you guys can see that there, but they are perfect. There's still heat coming off of them. Perfectly caramelized. There is a small amount, I don't know if you guys can see that, small amount of caramelization on the bottom of the bowl there. So that's really great. If you continue to cook things, you're going to get that flavor going through whatever it is that you're continuing to cook. If you were using sauteed onions as part of a guided cooking recipe, yeah, it's awesome, and it's perfectly cooked them. There's no burnt bits. Absolutely love it. So that's your sauteed onions done, just like that. Now, that, by the way, that was the butter bowl that Linda mentioned, just for anyone that wants to see it. It's fantastic. You put the butter in that bit, you put a little bit of water in there, and you just tip it upside down, leave it on your bench, and it's amazing. So yeah, probably that was a great tip that Linda gave us about adding a little bit of extra buttermilk for a creamier, smoother butter. That might slide out of that butter dish. So that butter dish is designed for a little bit harder butter. And then I actually now I am doing the bread next. Yes, Michelle?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I've already got the probed dough, and as you can see, you can pull it straight out. It's so easy to use. A great tip is, if you do have a little sticky dough, you just put the tiniest little bit of olive oil on your hands, and that dough is not going to stick to your hands at all if you don't want to be using the extra flours and all of those sorts of things. Now I've got the large rose gold tray here. I should have shown you that before I put the dough actually on it. Here's the next size down. With these guys are so good. They're your silicone mats that fit into your trays. I just use them all the time, no more baking paper. Look, these trays are non-stick, but I just love the fact that I don't actually have to do any washing half the time. I can just pop this on and wash this bit, and my pans I can reuse over and over. If I'm cooking multiple things in a session, I find that really useful. But I also find that just the texture on the actual silicone mat is fantastic. And instead of actually putting this dough into the bread tin, I'm actually going to turn it into a flatbread today. And you can hopefully see there how easy this dough is. I can literally just press the dough out. This dough is really very forgiving, and it's very easy to work with. So if you guys wanted to do a little bit of a twist on bread and you wanted to make a nice flatbread for guests coming over, or just something fun to do with the kids, this is a cool thing to do. And look at that, I've just literally used my hands to spread that dough out. So easy. As Linda said, this dough is a little bit stickier than the majority of doughs that I find I make on Cookie Do, but there's always a reason for it. It's to do with the texture. And this has already been approved, and then we've actually taken the air out at about 30 minutes. I've gone through, and what that does is it means you're not going to get those holes in your bread. So that's why you beat the dough down, and you only need to sort of do that to it and it drops it down, and then you prove it again. And that's the process for actually making sure with this particular dough that you get the right consistency at the end. So not all doughs need proving for that long. This one does. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a flavoured bread. So this is the, by the way, this is the thermo server for those that have it or for those that are looking at hosting so that you can actually get your thermo servers. Highly recommend it. You can prove in these as well. So, I mean, these are amazing. Heat food hot and cold for 2 hours. You can do noodles in them and you can do a whole range of things, but you can do your bread in it. But as Linda said, I love doing the mat as well. And be aware with proving times, it is going to be temperature dependent. So it's quite cold in my place tonight for the first really cold night we've had in a while, like this last few nights. And even though I had my bread next to the oven while the oven was on, I still found it needed longer to prove. So temperature will, and I always find it takes longer at night than in the morning for obvious reasons. But you've also got a few little extra factors like humidity and things like that. So that's all going to impact how long your bread takes to prove. So obviously there's guidelines and they're fairly accurate, I find, most of the time. But if there's some temperature shifts, some unusual temperature shifts or like quite cool, it's going to take a little bit longer. But you can pop your doughs out outside in a warm spot on a windowsill during the day. Like, just think of an area that's a little bit warmer so that you can actually get that dough rising for you in a decent amount of time. And now all I'm going to do is I'm going to flavour my bread, and you can be really creative with this, guys. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil on it, drip that over it, spread that, because who doesn't love a good bit of olive oil? And it's so good on the breads. I'm going to obviously use my sauteed onions. So look, I'm not going to do a pretty picture tonight, only because I'm a little bit tired. My son was not having a good night when he went to bed, so my creative brain's gone out the window. So this is going, instead of a pretty picture, which I can't think of right now, it's just going to be a flavoured bread. But guys, get creative with the kids and turn. Some people have done some amazing things like trees and beautiful flowers and all sorts of things
to show, Nat. So
what was that?
I've got some pictures to show.
Oh, great.
Yeah. When you
great. So because I can't get my creative brain on, Michelle's got some beautiful pictures. But there you go. I've put some nice caramelized onions. I can't send the smell through the screen. I wish I could, but I can't. It smells great. And red onion, I think, is really nice on a bread. Like, you can, of course, do brown onions, but there's a reason I chose to do red tonight, because I think it's nicer on a bread. And I pop some roasted capsicums on. Yum, 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 yum. I'm really, really looking forward to eating this, and I just realised I forgot to preheat my oven, so I'm going to preheat it after I've done this step. Some nice roasted capsicums. Pop a couple of pine nuts on there. I'm going to pop salt, which I don't have in front of me, but I'm going to pop sea salt flakes on it, because it wouldn't be a bread, a beautiful Mediterranean style bread for me without that. A little bit of feta. So guys, you can really, the world's your oyster when you start to think about what can you put on a bread, well, whatever flavors you like. I could even pop down to the herb patch and grab some basil and chuck some basil on that too. And then the final thing, so I think that's looking pretty good for my, I don't want to tip it. Let me try and tip my camera down. There we go. How good's that? That's going to pop in the oven and cook, and I'm going to have a beautiful flavoured flatbread. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit creative. This is the za'atar spice. I love this spice. It's just a spice mix you can make up on cookie dough. Make a dukkha, you know, make anything that you can dip this beautiful bread with some olive oil and some spices. Yum. I'm making myself salivate thinking about it, but I love this spice. So I'm going to try a bit of this spice and some olive oil, dipping that nice bread in. There's your bread.
Yum. Thanks, Nat. And just one thing I wanted to add when Nat was talking about proving the dough, knocking the air out. When you're making bread, you don't want to be in a rush because you will get rock hard bread rolls and things. You need to have time and have some patience and follow those instructions. The proving and the knocking of the air is really important. And the second proving, if some breads need or doughs need that second proof to do that. Linda's the bread expert. She's leaning in. Have you got something to add? No. I'll just show you that photo. And this is what you can do. So I've done this with my kids, where you've made like little flowers and, you know, garden scenes and all sorts of different things. So you can really get creative with this particular bread dough and get the kids involved. It's a fun thing to do in the school holidays or when they're home as well. Any questions on it? Sorry, Nat, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, if you wanted to do scrolls, like with the scroll doughs, you use your Thermomat, that mine's there, but it's got stuff all over it, that Linda showed you, and push the dough all the way out so it's in a rectangle. And then you put your fillings and then you literally just roll it up and cut it into slices. And I find this little green guy from the mix shop so good. This is the dough cutter. I don't know its official name, Michelle, but I got this and I absolutely love it because it just cuts through the dough. It doesn't cut my mats. I know you're supposed to cut off mats, but I love this. I just straight through for my scrolls or scraping dough around. You can even scrape dough out the bowl on that side. This guy I absolutely love.
The bowl scraper.
The bowl scraper, that's it. These are my tips because of all the things I've learned, the many times I've done dough, and then these are the little hacks. And you don't need to roll this dough, and you don't need to roll quite a lot of doughs actually in using the Thermomix. You can literally just pull them straight out most of the time. But when you do want to roll any form of baked goods, I absolutely love this rolling pin. I was using old wine bottles and an old plastic one and just so many bad rolling pins. But guys, this is the French rolling pin. The dough does not stick to it. I don't know what wood it's made out of. I can't remember, but the dough just doesn't stick. It's a dream for anyone that wants to make dough easy regularly. So that's my little hacks for dough.
Beautiful. Thanks for that, Nat. And Linda said if you want perfectly shaped scrolls, you can use cotton or dental floss to cut the dough or cut the scroll.
Ooh, I like that.
Now over to the lovely Danny. I'll just find you here, Danny, and I'll spotlight you. Oh, there you are. And Danny's going to make the last two dishes. And just in the chat before I hand over to Danny, if you scroll up, I've actually got our Legends hashtag, which is hashtag Legends Mixed-It. So if you are inspired to recreate any of these, we'd love you to use that hashtag so we can see your creations. Over to you, Danny.
Hi, everybody. My name's Danny Hibbard, and I'm here tonight to just do some beautiful cooked mayonnaise, and then we'll use that mayonnaise to make a coleslaw. So I've saved the recipes in my week. So I'll go into my week, and I've got a few things on here that I was to cook today, didn't get around to it. But anyway, we'll do the mayonnaise first. So I've got the mayonnaise. You all, obviously, when you get a recipe, you scroll down, you have a look at all the ingredients which are down the side, the preparation that you can do or the steps to take to make it. Scroll all the way down before you do anything and read any of the hints and tips, because you can get a lot of variety in what you're cooking, change flavors, anything that that can be a variation of the recipe will be down there in the tips. All right, so I'm just going to scroll up and start cooking. Now, this is a good mayonnaise because it's cooked. It's okay for pregnant ladies to have it. Anybody with allergies, the eggs are actually cooked. So it says place a jug onto the mixing bowl. And people say why, but this is to weigh the ingredient to use later. So we're going to place the jug on the mixing bowl, and it wants 300 grams of grapeseed oil. It's tared, so I can just pour it in, 300 grams. Sorry, I have to reach across.
Hey, Danny, we've mentioned grapeseed oil twice. You've mentioned it here and Linda mentioned it in the butter. Did you want to explain to everybody why you would use grapeseed oil?
Because it's sort of flavourless. If you use another type of oil, especially like an olive oil, you can really taste it. Whereas the grapeseed oil doesn't have a flavour. Sometimes you can get away with a very light olive oil, but grapeseed oil will give you the best result in your mayonnaise. Is that what you meant?
Yep, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
There's a few new people to Thermomix here, or they don't have one, so they wouldn't know that little tip. So thank you for sharing that.
I will just say that this does make a lot of mayonnaise, so you can always halve it because this is a lot. But it doesn't matter. We're doing the whole full recipe today. So I've got my 300 mils or 300 grams of oil, and I'll put that aside. Set the jug aside, and the next step is a teaspoon of sea salt. So I'm going to pop that in. Sorry, we get a little bit confused here on the bench. Now, sometimes you can oversalt your mayonnaise, so I'm just going to put a light teaspoon in. Then next, we're going to put 30 grams of vinegar. I've already measured that out. It's just simple white vinegar, so I'll pour that in. Next, okay, insert the measuring cup. Now, of course, it says insert the measuring cup. I've got the lid on. This is the measuring cup. Some people just get confused about that. It's called a measuring cup because there's a 50 ml and 100 ml mark on the inside of that. And it also has a little spout. So if you are measuring things in here, you've got the spout to pour it. That's why it's called the MC. Okay, so we pop that on, and it's going to go for 3 minutes at 100 degrees just on speed 1. So it's going to cook that vinegar and the salt and mix it all up. Now, with this mayonnaise, I don't know what I'm meant to talk about here, but I will just talk about we're going to be emulsifying. By later on, we're going to be pouring the oil into the lid, and it's going to run through. Now, the reason we emulsify it, or what emulsion is, it's the merging or combination of 2 different liquids. So we're going to have the liquid in the vinegar and then the oil, okay? Because oil and water don't mix. So by doing it this way, where you're pouring the oil in gently, that's going to give us the emulsified and not a split mayonnaise. So that's really important. Now, what else? I'll just say what's on. If you purchase a Thermomix this month, you've got the great toolkit. Now, the toolkit has a few items in it that are very important in the kitchen. You've got a pair of scissors, which all of these are made with the same steel as your blades in the Thermomix. So they're very strong and very sharp. I couldn't hear what you said. I'm sorry, that was my watch. Okay, so you've got scissors. You've got 3 different knives. You've got a paring knife here. This one I'm using to cut my apples for the coleslaw. You've got 3 knives. This one's for spreading, to spread your butter. Always spreads. It's got a little serrated edge and a flat edge on it. So you can just spread really easily without ripping holes in your butter. And this is an ice cream scoop, or it's actually very handy to scoop out your flesh of your avocados, scrape out the seeds of your rock melon or any of your melons, your ice cream, what else? Lots of different uses, but especially with your fruits and scooping out your avocados. And of course, you use a knife to get the seed out. So that's the toolkit. It's amazing. It comes in that beautiful pouch. And along with that, we have the Less Waste, More Food cookbook. This is a great cookbook. It's got so many ideas of how you can have less waste because you use so many different parts of your vegetables, your meats. But it also gives a lot of information, not just recipes, but things that are really interesting to learn and to incorporate in your kitchen and in your lifestyle, that you're just saving more. And if you're saving more, having less waste, you're saving money as well. So this beautiful book is also a gift with purchase, along with the toolkit, if you were to purchase a TM6 right now. Okay, I've got 23 seconds left on this step. Now, if I was to have this as a garlic mayonnaise, I would pop the garlic in now while it's cooking. It would be in there. But if I'm just going to put a mustard mayonnaise, I'll put that in the next step. You can always flavour your mustards into a lot of different flavours. So pop in the chat if you have made mayonnaise and how you flavour it. What's a very common or loved mayonnaise in your family? Put that in the chat. Look, you can see the steam coming up, so that's really cooked. Next, in a small bowl, crack 2 eggs, which I have done. So I've got my 2 eggs here, 2 eggs, and set them aside. All right, now, this is where we have to watch the screen. We've got 30 seconds. It says turn the speed selector to speed 3. All right, I'm putting the lid on. Turn it to speed 3. Whoops. Okay, it's on 30 seconds, so turn the speed to 3. Okay, mixing. Now, meanwhile, follow the next step. So I go next. Add the reserved eggs through the hole to pop the eggs in. So they've gone in through the hole. Now, what's happening there is it's gently putting those eggs in on the heated vinegar, and it's letting them cook through. Then we mix it. It's going for 10 seconds to mix it on speed 3. We didn't have to do anything because Cookie Doo has guided us and given us the exact steps to do. Next, reinsert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl. Okay, I had that in. It doesn't matter. Okay, reinsert the measuring cup into the mixing bowl lid. Then I've got 1.5 minutes. And in this 1.5 minutes is where I'm going to use my reserved oil. And I'm going to pour it in. You can't see it, but it's going to go in the lid and it will go through the little holes. There are 2 lugs on the measuring cup around here, and there is a gap. So when I pour this oil in, it's going to just slowly drizzle into emulsify in the liquid. All right, so I'm going to go turn the speed selector to 6. And then while it's doing that, I pour the oil slowly.
So I'm not too sure if you heard Danny because of the noise. Yeah, because of the noise of the Thermomix, but she's drip pouring. The shape of the lid is on an angle, and so it's on an angle like this. So as she's filling the lid with the oil, it's slowly drip pouring as the Thermomix is beating those eggs. So it will emulsify and not split that sauce. So in this case, it's mayonnaise this time, and that is a game changer. And the shape of the lid with it being on an angle also, if you wanted to add citrus or any fruit juice or anything to your cooking, you would just cut your lemon or whatever in half, squeeze it with your hands. The pips will stay in the rim and the juice will actually flow in underneath that lid. How are you going there, Danny? Sorry, my kids are not in bed and you may hear them in a second, so I do apologise. I think she's finished by the looks of this.
Okay. Looks like it's a mess, but it's all over the lid, which it always is. But you can see the colour of our mayonnaise. So that's whipped it all up and it's absolutely delicious. Now I've got this spatula, or as Linda used, the long one, the long flexible one. I find this one's really good. So I'll scrape it down and you can actually see how much it has made. Okay, you'll probably be able to see it a bit better now. Okay, so that's the delicious mayonnaise. Now I'll scrape it off the lid as well. And my next dish is coleslaw. So I don't have to wash the bowl. I don't have to take all of the mayonnaise out because I'm going to be mixing that in with my cabbage and other ingredients. So I'm just making the lid a little bit cleaner. All right, now let me just put that aside. I have got here a sterilised jar. Now again, from the mix shop, you can use some people will use the lid to use as your guide to pop your, can you see that? To use that to pour your mayonnaise into the jar. Or I prefer to use the jam funnel because that way it doesn't matter what size neck the jar has, we don't make a mess. So I'm going to be pouring this mayonnaise into the jar. And it's really awkward that you can see the underneath of the bowl rather. Okay. As you can see, it makes quite a lot. All right. Now I'm just going to leave just some sort of around the edges, and that's going to be my mayonnaise for the coleslaw. Now I prefer to have less in my jar, in the mixing bowl, because I can always add more. But yeah, sometimes if there's too much mayonnaise, it can overpower the vegetables. So yes, I've made a little mess on the funnel, but at least it's not on the side of the jar. So that's a good amount of mayonnaise. That's cooked egg, so it's very healthy and nice and clean. Okay. So let's get on to the coleslaw. So I would finish the mayonnaise. Now, of course, remember in step 3, you would have added your mustard. Step 2, you would have added your garlic, so it's cooked as well. And any other ingredient that you might like to make. A herb mayonnaise, anything. You can put your herbs in it. Doesn't really matter, whatever you like. I'm now going to go to my week again, and I'm going to scroll down till I get the coleslaw. Now, this is a chunky coleslaw, so it's not slivers like you would normally do, but this one's really good. Start cooking. I'm going to place 100 grams of carrot. So I've just got some carrot, just chopped up into pieces. Let's tear. All right, so my carrot's gone in. Next, green apple. So I was using this sharp knife. A bit of a mess here. Okay. See, straight through the apple. Shows how sharp it is. Okay, so I've got my apple. Green apple. Next. 50 grams of red onion. So I've got a small red onion, just cut in half. Next, 200 grams of cabbage. Now I've got some green cabbage and some red cabbage. So I'll pop all of that in. It's all just big pieces. It's not chopped up. It's like you've cut the cabbage piece and I've just cut it in half. Okay. Pinch of salt. I'm just going to use some, I can get the lid off. Pinch of salt, pinch of pepper. Should have the lids off these. Okay. Next, the ground black pepper. Okay, and 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. I've already got the mayonnaise in the bowl. Now I like to just clean the edge so that when the lid goes on, it's not going to go inside the groove of the lid. All right. Pop that on. Now, next, insert the spatula. Now, there's a little video on here that you can see that's going to explain to you how to put the spatula in. What we're doing is, as it's slowly moving the blades, sometimes if you've got a lot of vegetables or ingredients up high, the top part isn't getting chopped. So by using the spatula in the hole, we can help guide it around the bowl. So I don't need to look at the video. Next, it's going to go for 2 seconds on speed 4. Okay. Still. Now that 2 seconds is nothing. Next, scrape down. I'm not going to scrape down. Insert the measuring cup. Doesn't need scraping down because it's all just. I would repeat that step because it's still very. I know we do it a couple of times, but in my way, I like it a little bit finer. So this is where you can just cook it or mix things to your liking. So in this, I'm going to do that one again. So I'm just going to hit the back arrow. Whoops. And do those 2 seconds again. Okay, so it's only 2 seconds. Next, scrape down. Sorry, I've got to take it off to scrape down to allow for my physical with my shoulder. Okay, so you can see just the 4 seconds that a lot of that's chopped up, but a lot of it, there is still some that's still quite large. So we pop that back on, insert the measuring cup. Then next 2 seconds on speed 4. I'm covered in oil. Next, repeat if necessary. I'm going to do it one more time. So you can see that it's quite chopped. Now, it depends if you like it chunky, that's fine. I'm going to do it again because I like it a little bit finer. So I'll just scrape it all down. So this is how you will decide or discover how to cook to your liking. I think this is still too big, but if you're having a burger, a pulled pork burger or something like that, you might want to have it chunky or finer. Okay, repeat if necessary. So I'm going to hit the back arrow, 2 seconds speed 4. Next.
So while Danny's doing that, I'll just launch a quick poll. So how can we help you after tonight? What follow-up did you want from your consultant? So if you can just click which option suits you there would be great. Don't be shy, everybody. While Danny's doing that and you guys are filling in your questionnaire there, when I got my Thermomix 8 years ago, I had a TM31. Just a little tip I tell all my customers, do not go wild on turbo, only follow a recipe on turbo. I thought I could make a coleslaw faster than 6 seconds. I put it on turbo for 1 second. I think I had a coleslaw smoothie. So just err on the side of caution. You can see what Danny's doing there, speed 4 and 2 second lots to get it to the right consistency, rather than what I did, going like a bat out of hell for 2 seconds on turbo, which is like speed 11, and got that smoothie. So it's always good to do that. Excellent. So we finished. Only 6 people have filled in the survey.
Let's get a bowl for this.
Excellent. I'm just ending the survey. Thanks, Danny. And you guys can come along and do what we do as well. So if you are wanting a Thermomix, but maybe the price point, or you don't want to spend the money, you can come on board to earn your Thermomix as a payment option. So talk to a person and me as well. And Nat, I'm not too sure about Linda. Linda's got her hands up too. So talk to the person who invited you on tonight, and they would love to have a chat to you about that. And we earn wonderful incentives, and one of those incentives is the bowl, blade and lid. So you can have a Thermomix with a second bowl as well, if you achieve that incentive in your 60 days. So we would love to have you on our team. So if that was something you're interested in, please reach out. And Danny, did you want to show us the finished product?
There you go, 8 seconds. I did that extra 2 seconds. So in 8 seconds, you've got the coleslaw. The mayonnaise took, what, 8 minutes, I think, all up, without me talking.
Mhm.
So in under
Good.
10 or 10 minutes, you've got mayonnaise and a coleslaw. And a whole jar of mayonnaise to use. If you've boiled eggs in the Thermomix, you just use that mayonnaise. Or if you've made the mayonnaise and you've got hard-boiled eggs, pop the eggs in the bowl with the dirty bits of mayonnaise in it, and speed 4, reverse 4 seconds. You've got your mashed up egg with the mayonnaise for all sandwiches. And the same with chicken. You can pop your chicken fillets in the bowl. I'm running out of breath. Chicken fillets in the bowl with the dirty bowl with the mayonnaise, and you've got your shredded chicken for the sandwiches. So it's all really easy. Always do something after you've made the mayonnaise to make use of the dirty bowl.
Love it. Thanks, Danny. I've got one more survey because I'd love to see how we've inspired you today. What is everybody going to walk away and cook or attempt to make? Let us know. You're going to give everything a go. The butter, the buttermilk bread, the caramelized onions, the cooked mayo, and the coleslaw. Which one of these? And don't forget to use your hashtag Legends Mixed It, and we can see what you are making. Oh, excellent. We've inspired quite a few people. There's quite a few here that have said they're making everything, which is great. And how easy is that coleslaw? Just chuck it in. Like, to me, before I had a Thermomix, I couldn't be bothered with all the grating. But, you know, within a couple of seconds, Danny's whipped that up. So that's fantastic. And also, too, one thing, the Thermomix recipe's got apple in it. And to me, I wouldn't necessarily put apple in coleslaw. I don't think I liked coleslaw before because my mum used to put celery in it. And to me, I didn't like that flavour. But the apple really gives it a really fresh, uplifting flavour. So give it a go. It is delicious. And especially if you're using that mayo with the pulled pork, the apple really cuts it.
It's
so
beautiful. I also put celery in it and also some pine nuts.
Yes. Well, yeah, I grew up with celery in it, and I never liked it. So here we go. We've got lots of people making everything. Few butters, lots of buttermilk bread, some caramelized onions, the mayo, and the coleslaw. So that's wonderful results. So thanks, guys. I'm glad we've inspired you there. And I've just got some comments in the chat. So let me see what everyone's saying here. So Megan's had her Thermomix for ages, and she said that we've inspired her to make butter from scratch, and she's also going to give the bread a go. So that's great. Lisa's had her TM6 for a little while yet now, probably about a year, and she hasn't made those caramelized onions yet. So she's going to hopefully give them a go. Gillian's got some great tips from tonight. So she's upgraded from a TM31 to the black TM6. So she's been inspired. So that's great. Pauline's, she's a long-time Thermomix owner as well, and she's been inspired with some ideas today. And Erica's loved the class and has been inspired with some new ideas. And I've just found her favourite mayo recipe that's going to save you a packet, Linda, Erica, by making your own. So thanks so much, guys. Thank you to our presenters, Danny, Linda, and Nat. We do appreciate you jumping on and sharing your wealth of knowledge. Did anyone have any last words or questions or anything that you wanted to share with us?
Michelle, can I show my finished bread product?
Oh, yes, please. I wasn't too sure if I did do a little note to you. Wasn't too sure if you did have that. I was going to add you there to the...
Okay. So I just brushed the butter, the dough, with some melted butter, and I popped on some black sesame seeds, some poppy seeds, and some sesame seeds, and I've sliced a few up. And if you haven't seen this on the mix shop, you need to get one of these if you're going to make your own bread. The bread knife has got a beautiful little guide on it, so each slice is perfect each time, same thickness, and you've got the perfect slice. While you guys were cooking, I put my butter into my butter bowl, got some water in there, so that's going to sit on my bench, and I split the butter, and I had some black garlic, which I buy from Costco. If you're looking for black garlic, one of those won't set you back very much, but you can make lots of things with the black garlic. And I've got a log to pop in my freezer, great to put on your steaks. My family's waiting for some fresh bread with black garlic butter, so I've got some of that to share around as well. And if you're worried about the garlic, because it's not fresh garlic, it's black garlic, which is humidified, it doesn't have that pungent taste or that aftertaste in your mouth either.
Yeah, and does black garlic have health properties over normal garlic?
I'm not too sure, but I will look into that. And maybe when you send out this email, we can put that in as a note. I'm not too sure, to be honest.
Oh,
Maybe Nat might know.
Do you know, Nat? Does black garlic have more health properties than normal garlic?
There's something, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
But yes, there is. I've heard it touted, but honestly can't think of what it is right now.
We're
We'll
going to have to
look
do
that up.
some homework.
Yeah, we'll look that up and share that with you guys. So after today, you will all get a recording of tonight, plus the recipes. And if anybody wanted some additional information, shout out, and I can include that in the email as well to you. Thank you so much. We'll just check the chat before we leave. Excellent. So Julian's got some great tips from tonight, and that's what it's all about. So thank you. Enjoy your night, and we will catch you next time. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.